Tonight, for Genuine Enthusiasm, I'm excited, I'm honored, I'm flattered, I'm ecstatic to get the opportunity to interview Abigail Joy. Abigail Joy isn't just a new name in the Toronto music scene. She's a whole vibe in motion with just the right amount of danger and desire. Born in England and raised on all things art, dance, drama, vocals, this woman didn't just study the stage, she is the stage. Now she's stepping into the spotlight with a sound that's still finding its final form. But trust your ears will know they've been touched by something divine and a little bit naughty. She's risque and as real as a late night text you probably shouldn't send. Abigail isn't here to play it safe. She's here to turn feelings into fire. Her music is like reading a love letter out loud in silk sheets with a glass of red wine. Her artistry just getting started. Consider this your warning. Consider this your warning. Abigail Joy has entered the chat and she's not leaving quietly. Are you ready to meet Abigail?
Hey, Trevor.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I got to turn you up a little bit here.
See, I should have kept it in the can.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not. I may seem classy sometimes, but I'm really not.
see, I
So,
thought before we got a sponsorship, I was gonna keep it here, but you know what? We should get sponsorship because you're holding that can like. So before we start, tell me about this beverage and why you wanted. I rewind a little bit. I told my awesome guest to tell me about a beverage that we should enjoy tonight. Why did you choose this beverage?
because you'll get less of a hangover. No, it's called, they call it the Mexican working man's drink, and it has grapefruit soda and lime juice mixed with tequila. It's simple. I make it myself in the summer, but it's not something I was about to make tonight, hence the can. And lime juice actually has antidepressant properties to it. So I'll take all of those antidepressant properties that I can get, especially as a Canadian.
Fair. But hey, if they're listening, this was a perfect infomercial, and hopefully we just got sponsorship. So before we start, let me just toast you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
So I know you gave me your bio, but what did you think about my little adaptation of your bio?
A late night text that you probably shouldn't send sounded perfect to me.
There you go. So let's get right into it because I know you're a busy person. You got a tight schedule. I wanted to start off by asking, your journey began in England, but now you're making waves in Toronto. How has the move influenced your sound and your sense of identity as an artist?
I mean, I think as an artist, your whole being, your whole personality seeps into your art. And moving continents affected me greatly as a person. All of my extended family are still there. It was just my parents and my siblings that came over. I was 10 years old, so it was a lot to get used to. And I went back to study vocals, as you said, so there's a big difference between English music and the way in which we learn English music and how that transfers over here. Yeah, it's been a big difference, but I'm very grateful because I feel like it makes me a more well-rounded artist.
How does it feel? First of all, if you're going to give me answers like this is going to be the most awesome interview ever. That was great, right out the gate. I mean, my next question is what made you take the leap to put yourself out there in the first place? And then further to that, what made you shy away from putting yourself out there? So what was that sort of like wrestling one?
So I'll actually start with the latter part of that question first. Growing up, I grew up in a very strict religious household and setting, and that is where shame is bred, unfortunately. And so I grew up with a lot of shame about myself, about not being too big, not making anybody feel uncomfortable, my body especially, which is maybe why I dress a little more risque than other people, because I'm proud of the obstacles I've had to overcome over time. And then what made me shed that? First of all, years of therapy and talking to people. But my grandma got sick a few years back, and I was lucky enough to be able to go and visit her in her last days, and she loved to hear me sing. And it made me realize how short life is, and how if I believe this is what I was put on this earth to do, then that's what I should frickin' do.
How does it feel to be stepping into this spotlight with your own art after studying so many different forms of expression?
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking because if I'm being honest, I am more trained in the dramatic arts and dance compared to vocals, and I am not trained at all when it comes to music production. So it's been a steep learning curve for me, but one that I am used to. I picked up the guitar when I was 12 years old and taught myself how to learn via YouTube. I started a plant YouTube channel during COVID, and I had no idea what I was doing with the camera, with the video editing program, and I taught myself all that on the go. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but I think everything that I've learned along the way in all of the other arts has led me to this moment and has given me the confidence to be able to, for me to be here and show my face and sing in front of people. Yeah.
I was watching. You're really good. You're really fun with social media. I saw you doing a TikTok live a couple weeks ago, and I think you were having a little bit of banter. Was that with like a producer of yours?
Yeah. So he helped me write, not the lyrics, but he helped me put together London Gave Me You. He had some previous experience in putting together music and writing music, so he helped me greatly and was a sounding board. I think the sounding board aspect is what's most important in that scenario, because otherwise you're in your own head so much and you'll go crazy really quickly if you're not talking to people and bouncing ideas off of people along the way.
Well, that segues into what my question was, because when I watched that little interaction back and forth, it came up about you're a perfectionist. And the question that I want to ask you is, how do you know when a song is finished, or is it ever?
That is a great question, one I'm not sure if I know the answer to. I'll say this, for my first track that I released, which I should take a pause for a second and say that there are a few tracks that I produced and put out with my uncle when I was studying vocals back in London, and I was like 19, 20. So you'll hear a few of those on Spotify, but in terms of my own production, my self-production, I've put out 2 so far, and London Gave Me You was the first one. And with that one, I think it was just a feeling of, okay, I've worked on this so much, I just need to let it go. Yeah, because otherwise you'll be there forever tweaking things, and sometimes if you tweak things so much, it turns into a completely different song. And that's not why you started it out in the first place.
What would shock your fans if they saw the behind the scenes at a music video filming behind, or a photo shoot? What would shock people about those behind the scenes?
What would shock people is, so I only have 1 music video so far, all done by myself and shot by Brian, who you saw in that live that I did a few weeks ago. What will surprise everybody is that it was literally just me and him with a dinky little camera and a flashlight, and me stripping down almost butt naked, as you can see in the video, in our local ravine. I crapped my pants so much thinking, you know, if someone looks into this ravine right now, they might want to start calling the cops, not knowing what's going on. Yeah, just a random girl dancing around half naked and a guy with a camera and a flashlight. But yeah, I did all the editing to kind of make it seem artsy and out there and hopefully somewhat professional. Yeah.
But we might as well segue into playing a cycle in a second. But I guess ultimately, like behind the scenes, like I see so many beautiful photos of you for your album art. Like, I do photography, so I kind of get the opportunity to see the behind the scenes. You see the finished product, and sometimes people will look at a photo, they'll be like, oh, she's snobby, she's bitchy. Whereas during the photo shoot, I got to see that they were burping and they were farting, they were doing all these right? So like, I'm not saying tell me if you farted during a photo shoot, but what creepy things happens when you're on a set ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I fart all the time. I'm human. It happens. I wish I wouldn't, but it's fine. Yeah, I think it does get frustrating on social media because, yeah, people only see the finished product a lot of the time. Um, and I totally understand that comment, oh, she's snobby. It's like, hold on though, but I'm starting out. I'm doing this all by myself. If I don't have confidence in me and belief in me and faith in me, then who the hell else is going to, And I think to those people that might think I'm snobby, maybe that's ringing something true within yourself. Maybe that's some kind of projection because I'm just doing me and trying to make a living out of what I know I'm put on this earth to do.
Agreed. So let's segue. I'm gonna play something for you. I think you might have heard it. We're gonna play Psycho for all your songs, but it's like 5 hours.
Some of those scenes were actually filmed right here. That's the same curtain.
So I have so many questions. So I mean, I listened to the song first, and then I watched the music video second. And I'm just giving you I watched the video, Trevor's reaction. I mean, out the gate, it's sexy as fuck, but it's so confusing. I'm so like scared and turned on and confused and above, but I have so many questions. So let's start with the song first, and then we'll move to the video. Like, what was your thought process when you were writing it in the studio? And then we'll get to the video.
So for anybody that has followed me for a little bit, at least, they will know that I wrote my first track, London Gave Me You, after meeting a special someone. And Psycho is actually a follow-up. And after 2 years of letting my heart be indulged, should I say, this person then turned around and essentially called me crazy. And yeah, I don't know, that was the catalyst for this song. And I think that's also why there isn't a variety of lyrics in this one. It's just very straight to the point. There's a lot of repetition because it was more about the feeling for me. Like, fuck you, you call me crazy, but what you did really is crazy. And I just wanted to get that feeling across. For me, that was more important than it sounding professional or having like great lyrics. I just needed to get that feeling out. And I think that's art right there.
I don't normally go right to the chat for questions, but someone right away has said, do you need a bodyguard? So this is someone I know on TikTok. He's a professional strongman, Abigail.
Nice.
He's out of Ottawa. He lifts like 1,005 pounds. He is basically saying he wants to be your official bodyguard. I mean, obviously, Mr. Strongman, you have to talk to her management. There's people, etc. But you already got a volunteer that offers to be your official security intel.
Well, I think it'll be needed in the future. Yes.
There you go, Strongman. Send an email to her website and she'll connect you to her right people and we'll go from there. But yeah, back to the video. I mean, the video itself, I mean, you kind of touched on it before. Like, was it a fun night? Like, what time did you start? Was it hours? Like, talk to me about the video. Because again, I've watched the video more times than I want to admit to you.
It's okay. There's a few people that have done that.
Only for research purposes, of course.
Of course.
But I mean, it's a fun video. Everyone, you need to go watch it. It's on her YouTube channel. You got to watch that video. It is so, like I said, sexy, mysterious, fun, confusing, dark. I mean, I don't even know if I'm giving you the right review, but this is my goofy review.
Yeah, I would say dark is definitely the right word. And that's how I was feeling at the time. So that's what I needed. It was a lot of fun. We shot the ravine scenes late last fall. And I looked at the weather and I was like, okay, we're almost at the point where I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. Let's fucking do it now. And I don't know whether I'm allowed to swear, but yeah. It's the drink. It's the Paloma, guys. Yeah, I wanted to get it done before winter started, even though the song wasn't totally done yet. So I actually shot those scenes without the song even being finished. And then January came around, the song was about being finished, and I shot those other scenes right here in front of this curtain and in my bathtub. Yeah, it was fun. It was like it's just me right now. So I'm obviously on a budget. I didn't spend a freaking penny. So yeah, it was fun and cheap.
What's one piece of advice you give to your younger self to start?
Yeah, see, I wish I had started younger. So I would say in that sense, be confident in yourself. Who cares about what other people think? Who cares about what other people are even saying? What we think about ourselves, of ourselves, is what matters. To kick all the negative self-talk out, to big yourself up, because sometimes you've accomplished something and there are times when other people in your life are too busy to big you up about it. Right. And that's totally understandable, but we have to be our own support system first and foremost. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now. But you know, it's a little later on in life. And yeah, if I could talk to my younger self, I would say just fucking do it.
As my friend Strongman says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Do you have a guilty pleasure song you secretly love?
Oh, there's lots, Trevor. There's lots. Oh, God. You know what? I'm going to say this. I love Gangnam Style, and only because it brings me back to my days when I studied vocals in London, because that's when it was the big hit. And put it this way, I didn't go to my vocal classes too much. I was out partying a lot. I mean, I was 19, 20. So yeah, that song was always on in the clubs, and that's what it reminds me of. So yeah, if a guilty pleasure had to be a song, I would say that song, because most people are fed up with that song.
For those that are just joining us, I have the honor and pleasure of talking to this beautiful, awesome, great talent, Abigail Joy. If you just joined us, make sure you give my awesome guest a follow here on TikTok. Double tap the screen. I want to ask you, what is something you wish more people asked you about your music or about you as an artist? I know this is one of your first interviews with me, but what is something you're like, come on, guys, ask me this?
That's a good question. Maybe where do I get my inspiration from? I don't know whether anybody's ever asked that before. And for me, it's solely based on the feelings I have, and maybe even more zoomed in than that, it's the feelings I have in relationships. And it doesn't have to be romantic relationships, although most of the time it is. Yeah, just the feelings that I have in relationships. And also, I think a lot of people don't ask, like, where do you want to go with this? Because I think a lot of people are too busy judging you for where you're at right now. Yeah, and I want to go all the way with this. Like, I am fully committed no matter what is going on in my outside life or the other world, the personal world. This is always what I knew I was meant to do. So it might take me a while. I don't know how quick it'll happen, but yeah, I'm going all the way.
So every interview, I like to ask a Trevor nerdy question. So my nerd question for the interview: some of my personal favorite songs are 5 minutes or longer. I even have literally a playlist devoted to this, okay?
Okay.
How do you, as an artist, decide the length of a song? Is that something that is even important to you? Do you think about this? Do you even have a bit of a list yourself of like songs that are 5 minutes or longer? Is this even something that maybe I'm overthinking myself? But before you answer this, maybe I'm giving 5 minutes to the question. But like, for example, Purple Rain, you know, Hotel California, you know, I'm exactly, like there's so many epic songs, like, you know, Jodeci lately. Like, I mean, I don't have the list in front of me, but some of my absolute favorite that gives me goosebumps on my arm are at least 5 minutes. So
Yes.
what are your thoughts of the length of song? Are you conscious about that when you're in the studio?
That's funny. That's a good question, actually. And it's funny you say it. So with the last two tracks that I have self-produced, I guess for me, I was mindful of if I go on too long and it's not what people like, I'll lose their interest in the long term. And I didn't want that to happen. I'm still like my musical journey is in direct step with my internal journey, I think. So I'm still working through that. Okay, let's not care about what other people think. Do what you want to do. But with my last two tracks, I was mindful of, okay, let's make it like 3 minutes. 3 minutes is usually the typical amount of time for a song. In fact, as we go on in the years, it gets shorter and shorter because people's attention spans are shorter and shorter, unfortunately. And I'll say that for different types and different genres of music, that changes. I think about like techno and house, and those could go on forever. But I think that also brings it back to the idea of music is a feeling and it induces a feeling. And I think you make that feeling last as long as you want it to. As an artist, yeah, you do have to be aware about commercial time limits. And like I said, like a song on the radio will usually be around 3 minutes. But there's been like Tiesto songs played on certain radio stations that have gone for 10 minutes. And Bohemian Rhapsody is a classic one that is very commercial, but goes on for 9 minutes. And it's so great because it induces feelings and it takes you on a roller coaster. And I think that's what good songs are supposed to do.
Great. All right, we're going to play another song of yours. You did touch on it, so I'm just going to get all set up for you. But we're going to play a little bit of Snakes and Ladders.
Cheers.
Just keep playing.
So this song, can I say something? So this song is actually my uncle's song. He wrote this song. Again, about a relationship that he had. Him and I are quite similar in that sense. And he came to me with it when I was studying over there because we would hang out. And he said, can you try and sing this song? And I tried. It was in my perfect like vocal range. And yeah, it didn't take long. I think maybe an hour to record that. Yeah, it kind of felt like it was meant to be. So yeah, that's my uncle's song. I just sang it.
And as the song was playing and as you're talking, the comments are blowing up. Someone named Zoe, favorite song by you. A friend of mine, Amel, saying this one is nice. Your future security guard, Strongman, has said, I'll see you at the top. Shay says, I love it. Strongman says, we all have that interesting, weird uncle.
He's interesting. I mean, I think we're all weird in our own sense, but yeah, I think the thing with artists is you want to be interesting, right? I mean, I don't think you're appealing if you're boring. So there's that.
All right, so we're going to get into the next category subject of this interview now. You're philosophical, you're a little risque, incredibly self-aware. That's a rare combo in music. How do those parts of you show up in your songs?
Yeah. I don't think they, in terms of being self-aware, I think it shows up in what sometimes I post on social media. I don't think it's shown up in my self-produced music yet because my two tracks have just been focusing on this one relationship. But in terms of being philosophical, I actually I majored in philosophy in university. And I'm just always a deep thinker. I think that helps me in terms of writing music and pushes me to think outside of the box, like not just about relationships and to write songs about other things. You can find like one TikTok I made was about a song I wrote 11 years ago, and that one's quite deep. And I'm hoping to one day record that one as well. Yeah, risque, definitely. All the time. You can ask my friends. I would say I'm the friend out of our group that's known for turning everything into a sexual joke.
Well, continuing that, how do you balance being sexy and being taken serious as an artist?
I don't think I've found that balance yet because it's difficult because a lot of my success will be based on my fan base and what other people think of me. So it's really this huge dichotomy as an artist. Your success in terms of finance and how famous you become will be based on what other people think of you. However, you still have to create this art as if what other people think of you doesn't matter. So yeah, I think it'll be a lifelong journey and one that I am happy to be on. It'll be a roller coaster, but I'm up for it. I mean, the previous years of my life have already been a roller coaster, so I feel like I'm used to it and strapped in. But yeah, it'll be a fun ride.
I'm gonna keep pushing this topic because I like it. I mean, some people still act as being sexy and being philosophical can't exist in the same person. You're clearly challenging that idea. Is this deliberate or is that just who you are?
That's just who I am. And it's funny, that you say, is it deliberate? Because for so long in my life growing up, I deliberately hid all of that from everybody else, even from myself for a long time. And I think now that I'm committing to music and committing to doing this long term, it's really confronted me and made me just be myself. And this is myself. This is me. I am risque. I'm deep and serious at the same time. I can be really silly and funny too. And it's me. And I think for a lot of women, I would like to think of myself as one day becoming a role model for women in that sense, because I feel like a lot of us, we still live in the patriarchy. So I think a lot of us try to find one or the other to stick to, and to be known for or known as. And I don't think we have to. I'm not going to be put in a box. Not by the patriarchy, that's for damn sure.
Let us know you're here. I sneak in some of your comments, so let us know, write us questions, tell us why you love her. I read some of those comments. Talking about social media, when you own your own sensuality online, it can be powerful. You're a very confident sexual being, but unfortunately, it can also attract unwanted attention. How do you navigate that tension between self-expression and setting boundaries?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I would say so far it's been making sure I am appreciative to whoever it is for their attention, because that attention is it's basically my form of money in this industry, is attention. So yeah, I want to always be appreciative, but the good thing with social media is that I don't have to say something face to face to these people. And I am I can be quite eloquent in my writing. So I'm easily able to let people know that I'm appreciative, but not give them too much of my attention back to feed into that bad attention, if that makes sense.
Do you feel that those people, or some people, especially men, confuse confidence with invitation? How do you deal with that kind of energy in your DMs or comments?
Yeah. Again, I'd just say I want to make sure that I'm thanking people for their time and attention, because our time is the most valuable thing we have on this earth. However, yeah, I don't really play into it. I don't give them too much attention back, because what I'm here to do is make music and make art. I'm not just here to look sexy. I mean, that's a bonus, obviously, but
you come across as fearless online, but has there ever been a moment where you had to pull back or protect your space because of how people responded?
Yes. So actually, after I released Psycho, because it was about this certain person, and this certain person and other people that they know definitely saw the music video, and I was made aware of it, I had to pull back a little bit and just have a little bit of time off screen just to remind myself of who I am and not get lost in the talk about me. And I think that's going to happen, and it's probably going to continue to happen and happen more as I put out more music and as I get more attention. So it's definitely a skill and a talent that I am exercising and learning to grow.
I have many friends that are watching this interview right now, and one of my friends here, her name is Amel. She's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous woman.
Well,
So I say this because she does a lot of online content. She posts beautiful photos of herself, as do you. So this question is very important. What would you say to people who think that just because a woman posts sexy content, she's asking for a certain kind of attention?
yeah, it's difficult because I feel like when I answer that, it doesn't matter how I answer if it falls on those same ears you're talking about. However, at the end of the day, if I were a man doing whatever the hell I wanted to do for money and fame, it wouldn't matter, right? And I think slowly but surely, we as a society are breaking down those walls. But for me, it's not fast enough. So for me, I'm throwing myself out there and I'm being like, this is me. If you think I'm a hussy, that's such an old word, but if you think I'm a hussy, then that's up to you, but that doesn't dictate who I am, because this is me and I am a full person. It's not just about how I look. And I will give credit where credit is due, that sometimes us men can do the same us women can do the same to men. But I think for the most part in this industry and on social media in general, it is a lot harder for women to be taken seriously when they're putting themselves out there and they're not dressed like nuns, for example.
Last question in this sort of category. Have you had to develop strategies or even armor when it comes to filtering out creepy or disrespectful comments?
Yeah, but I think I am by no means old, but I am not young either, I would say. Although I'm sure there's plenty of people out there watching this that are going to be like, yeah, you are. What are you talking about? You're young. But in my mind, I'm not the youngest anymore. And so I have enough life experience now, I think, because I've dressed like this for a while, and I've been like this for a while, and I've been out there and outgoing and bubbly and honest and open for quite a while. So I feel like that has given me the experience and the skills I need to then step into this industry, step into a little bit of attention and limelight, and be able to know how to deal with them. And again, like I said before, it's making sure to thank people for their time, but not indulging them. You know what I mean?
I was at a convention center and I was setting up a stage and I played that song, and many people were coming up to us, me, like, who is that? And I was like, Shazam it. And they were like, I love this song. And so people are feeling this song. So talk to me about that song and the behind the scenes of writing it in the studio.
Yeah, this one took a long time because this was my first one that was self-produced. And I, like I said, I had no idea how to produce my own music. So I literally went into a DAW, which is a digital audio workspace, and started messing around. I then met my cousin in England for a little bit, and he has been making his own music for a while. And I sat down with him. He gave me a beat based on what I had come up with so far. And then I started to put the lyrics in. And just for me, it was learning to trust my ear. I think when you're learning to do something musically, obviously there is great value learning classically and everything that YouTube has to offer as well. However, sometimes that can drown out your inner voice, more specifically your ear. And I just had to learn how to take on all of that learning and all of that advice, but also stay true to what I felt in terms of the music. So it was a long journey, and it took about 2 years to release. It turned 1 year old in April this year. And it was definitely a proud moment for me because it was the first time one of my songs turned a year old. And yeah, I think, like I said in my live a few weeks ago, you question yourself all the time as an artist. And so to have something happen like that, a milestone to happen like that, it's really helpful to look back and be like, I did that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. All right, we're getting to the final segment here, so to speak. Again, I know you're on a tight schedule. And again, if you're just joining us, double tap that screen, give my awesome guest a follow. Let's give you the full disclosure here. I mean, I've had a small opportunity to get to know you a little bit offline. You were kind enough to let me have coffee with you one time. We're, be honest, yeah, we're early on in our friendship, so to speak, right? I'm still getting to know you, right? So the reason why I set all this up to tell you is you're a very mysterious person and you're a busy person. So there's still a lot I'm learning about you, and I'm learning a little bit now. Full disclosure, I don't know if you have a partner, you don't have a partner, it's none of my business. But the question I'm going to ask you, and you can answer it or don't answer it. I mean, ultimately, I'm not even sure if you want to share this, but if you're dating someone or not, but is there somewhere something, is this something you purposely, intentionally keep a secret if you have a boyfriend? You don't have to disclose you have a boyfriend even now, but if you had a boyfriend, is that something you like to keep mysterious? Loaded, long question.
Yeah, I think first of all, this is going to be a long journey for me. And I think it's something that I want to keep personal to me because a lot can change in time, and I'm going to change in time. And so I think for me, there's quite a bit of my personal life that I want to keep private. You know, I'm not afraid of saying that I have a son. I do share him occasionally here and there on TikTok and Instagram stories, but I try to only share him occasionally and, you know, like not too up close. And there's going to be bad people everywhere, especially on the internet, obviously. But that's one thing that I won't be keeping absolutely private because I am proud of the fact that I have a son. I had him very young and he's the best thing that ever happened to me. But other than that, everything else is private.
That being said, I'm going to push it and you can tell me when to stop. Have you ever put a real relationship into a song? You kind of touched on that already, and they knew it was about them.
Yes, both of them. And I don't know. I don't know whether he still watches me. He could possibly even watch this. I have no idea if he is. But no, there's a place in my heart for everybody that has been in my life. Let me just start by saying that. And yeah, I do tend to write about my relationships, like I said before. And I try not to shit on people. However, Psycho was to shit on someone, and my upcoming track, which is coming out very, very soon. So if you follow me, then you'll figure out when it's coming out. But yeah, the next track will be like all the tea about what happened. And I try not to shit on people, and I'm gonna try not to shit on people in my music. However, if you do me wrong, you're kind of asking for it. Don't date an artist or a musician if you don't want them to shit on you if your relationships go sour.
That actually segues to a bonus question that wasn't even on my list, but I don't know if you obviously heard the big news today. Taylor Swift got all of her masters.
Yes.
And you touched on someone that talks about relationships. Taylor Swift talks about her past relationships. What are your thoughts overall about Taylor Swift and the whole thing about music and ownership? And I mean, there's a lot of little confusion about that. I mean, you hear about the one side where the producer said, look, we offered the music to her, and then she said no. And long story short, she was doing all this stuff with re-releasing or making new versions of her music. And then now she got full ownership of her music. This is a very long loaded question, but What is your just thoughts of Taylor Swift in general?
So first of all, I don't know all the ins and outs of the music industry yet, but I have been a music lover and musician all my life. So I would say you can almost always trust what the artist is saying. I would always take the side of the artist in that situation. Also, being Taylor Swift, I mean, she's pretty open and honest anyways. She always has been. So I believe her. I did see the news and it brought a smile to my face because it's a big struggle for a lot of artists, in the past few decades, especially. I am open to being signed. However, I'm going to make sure I advocate for myself. And I think the time in which I'm coming into the industry is a good time because things are starting to change because of artists like Taylor Swift sticking up for herself and being vocal about what she wants and her rights. Really, they're her rights. I mean, that's her art. She should have the copyright, the masters, like it's hers. So I think that the industry is changing and I'm grateful for that. I don't know whether I will stay independent or yeah, I'm open to getting signed, but it would depend on a lot of things. For now, I'm happy being independent because I have free reign.
Yeah. That was literally a bonus question just because of the news today. Does dating help or get in the way of being a singer wanting to promote her?
Good question.
I mean, the fact that you keep it a mystery, is it because you're just a private person or is it because it's bad for business or both?
I would say I typically haven't been a private person. I've typically been a very open and honest, like everything out in the open, heart on my sleeve kind of person. But I'm making the choice now as I step into a little bit of attention and step into what I want to become, essentially. I'm making that choice to separate that. I think some of it is intentional in terms of the mystery. However, I think there's a lot of like the mental health stuff behind it as well. And I've just watched too many failed relationships blow up in the media. And like that must take a toll on the people involved. Like everybody knowing about your business. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, look, I'll say this. There may come a time in the future where I want to be public with it. But for right now, I want to focus on the music and I want other people to focus on my music and my art too. You know, there are bits and pieces of my life that I show in social media, but I think my art should be the focus for now.
What's something you're still afraid to say in your music and why?
Something I'm afraid to say in my music. You know what? I'm really not afraid to say a lot in my music. Like, music is how I express myself. So pretty much anything goes. However, I'm very hesitant to say I love you. And I think that shows up in my lyrics and the tracks that I have on the go right now. I kind of say a lot of other stuff that could be perceived as I love you, but it's something I have a hard time seriously saying, unless it's to my friends or my child.
We're down to the last question, but I see we're a little bit early. I still have some time with you. So I'm going to just play one more song that I myself have been playing over and over as I've been preparing for this interview, even as I was introducing you. This song is so sexy. I'm going to play a little bit of Under These Sheets. I love this song. And I don't love it just because you're my friend and because I was preparing for this. This literally holds up in my Apple Music playlist.
Thank you.
I love it.
I tend to cringe when I hear my old stuff because this is from when I was like 19, 20. But I actually was talking to my uncle lately, and I'm hoping to get all of the stems from him and remaster them so I can re-release them. So that means a lot, and thank you. And yeah, hopefully I will be able to get them re-released soon.
Well, I guess what was the feeling of being in the studio or writing that song, or even you touched on it now, you cringe a little bit, but does that bring you back to that day you wrote the song or when you were in the studio? Like, what do you think when you hear that song?
I think I cringe because my voice is not as polished in those tracks as I would personally like them to be in what I'm doing today. But that's okay. Like, it's raw. It was how I felt. When I wrote this specific song, I was actually 16, 17 when I wrote this song. So like when you say that I'm risque, I have always been this way. I'm just not hiding it anymore. And I'm proud that it's part of who I am. But yeah, I was 16, 17. I was in the bathroom with a guitar, wrote this song in like an hour, and a couple years later went to England and met with my uncle, and he recorded me with his electric guitar, and that's what you hear in that song. So yeah.
Okay, last question of the interview. Tell the fans, tell these new people that are discovering you for the first time right now here, whether it be live here on TikTok or when they watch the re-record on YouTube, what's next for you? More music, a tour, a thirst trap that we should be watching for? What is next?
Always thirst traps, always. No, I mean, there are a lot of them, but more dancing. I have my next track coming up. It's called I'll Find a Way Down, or A Way Down, and it has all the tea in it. So if you have been following along on my songs that I have produced myself over the last 2 years, London Gave Me You and Psycho, they are all about the same person. And in this next track, you will get all the tea, and that will be coming out like real soon. So if you haven't already, give me a follow, because you'll see the timing on that on my page. Yeah, more dancing, my next track. I have so many tracks on the go. So as soon as I put out this next track, I feel like I'll be able to get them out faster. And yeah, just more me, she says as she flips the hair. Yeah, I'm excited for what's to come, and thank you for giving me a platform to speak and let everybody know what I'm about.
I said that was the last question, but a bonus went in my head. So you're in the elevator with a person that's never heard about you before, hasn't heard your music. What would be one thing you would say in that 30-second elevator ride of who you are as an artist?
Who I am as an artist. I'm raw, risque, and a whole lot of fun.
Drop all your socials, website, Spotify, Apple Music. Give us all your socials.
So in any of the streaming platforms, you can type in Abigail Joy. There is one other Abigail Joy, but hopefully if we run all my stuff up, I will be at the top one day. And on my social media, abigail.joy.official on all platforms.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. It's 8:18. I got you wrapped up. I know you had a prior engagement set. I didn't want to hold you back from that. So
it's my son. It's my son. I have to get.
I didn't want to reveal that, but yes. But yeah, I thank you so much for you giving me this opportunity to interview you and get to know you. And again, you're awesome. I am a huge fan of you as an artist, and I appreciate your friendship. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining.